My name is Glenn Schofield. I'm the CEO, founder, and game director of Striking Distance Studios.
So my name's Mark James. I'm the CTO here at Striking Distance.
My name is Christopher Stone. I'm the Chief Creative Officer here at Striking Distance Studios.
My name is Stacy Hirata. I'm the COO and EVP of Marketing for Striking Distance Studios.
I'm Steve Papoutsis, the Chief Development Officer at Striking Distance Studios.
I've known Steve for 25 years. The first meetings, I met with Steve in a park, and I said, hey, I want to work with you again. And we started talking, and then I brought him into some of the early meetings. Chris had just moved to Bend, Oregon. I'm like, I'm about to start a new studio. He goes, I'll move back.
He and I go all the way back to the days of Dead Space when we worked on that project together. I was the animation director on that. We've always talked about wanting to do another horror game. So the opportunity, when it arose for us to come here and start Striking Distance and build a great game for Crafton, when that came up, we couldn't say no, and it's been a lot of fun ever since.
I heard about Stacy. A friend of mine had called me and said, I've got a great COO for you. And I had heard her name, I knew her name in the industry, and one interview, and I knew she was the right person, right?
So, oddly enough, for as many years and decades as I've been doing this, I've known of Glenn Schofield. He is a rock star and a legend in our industry, of course.
I actually turned up for the interview because of Glenn. I admired the work he did. I admired his creative process. And so I got called up by one of the recruiters and said, hey, do you want to come and talk to this small studio startup, Striking Distance? I said, oh yeah, I know Striking Distance. That's Glenn's studio. So I've always admired him and the way he runs a creative process. And I thought it would be a great challenge to work with him and understand how he works and understand how technology fits in that process.
That hurts us because a lot of people spend a lot of
We have our daily stand-ups. It's an opportunity for some of our leaders and for our announcements and for Glenn especially to have a few minutes with the team in the mornings to talk about things going on with the game, but also to be able to give them visibility to the rest of the team about some of the initiatives that we're doing here at Striking Distance that they don't always see that are going on behind the scenes.
That is essentially a meeting that I asked us to do, so I kind of run that meeting. I do enjoy speaking to the team and presenting, and I feel like it's a great way for me to get to connect with the team.
And we were the first big sci-fi horror game. Yes, I'm a developer now, but I'm the boss, so I understand there's a difference. But having started as an artist and kind of working my way up from art director to producer and all that, I know how I wanted to be treated. I wanted transparency from my bosses. I wanted them to hear my thoughts, and I wanted to be included, and I wanted a nice environment for me to work. I want to do the same thing. I want to build an environment that I would be happy to work in myself. And I think that starts with the open, honest, transparent honesty to the team, right? And an open door policy. If you want to come in and talk, you have that. It's also little things, making sure that we take care of the little things so they can just spend their time on their work, right? It's listening to them. How do we give them better benefits? How do we give them this or we give them that? So they don't have to worry. So that all they can think of is, hey, how can I make a better game? And there are some companies that say, hey, we just want you to finish your job. Just do your job. And what we say is like, give us your best every day, right? Because that's what people want to do. An artist doesn't want to sit down and do a lousy piece of art. They want to do the best thing they can. Same thing an engineer and a designer, and that's what we want out of them. So try and build an environment that allows for the creativity, for the openness, for the honesty, and I believe people will be happy.
Everybody has to remember we create the culture that's here in the studio. We are in an entertainment business. This is an entertainment industry. We make games for a living. How much more fun is that? And I think we have to remember that that is what we do. And we need to have fun while we're creating these games and these experiences for others, because that comes through in our games, right? Knowing that we're creating that experience for people. I think it's the people that create the fun that it's here. It's not the studio itself, the physical studio. It's not the furniture. It's not the tools that you have. It's about the work you create with everybody around you and enjoying it to make sure that that fun comes through in the games that we create. So I think it is the most important is about the people.
We built a studio where each individual lives to be the best craftsperson they can. And I talk about, one of our studio ideals is to be better craft people, it's like craftspeople. Anybody can make a chair, but no one can make that chair. The chair they've always wanted to make, that's there. And so we have lots of people working at our studio who want to do the best job they've ever done in their profession. The best animator, the best rendering guy, the best. I want to be the best CTO I've ever been. It's like, so everybody has that self kind of fulfillment that they want in this project, and they want this project to be their example of their best work, the best craft they have.
As a creative, you want to try to do things that people are going to remember. Because one day, I'm not going to be here, but these art pieces of artwork, and that's what video games are. It's art. Those can live forever. And again, like I'll go back to the days of creating Dead Space, like making that project. We didn't know that it was going to be something that was going to become kind of a cult classic, right? We put all of ourselves into it, but never knowing that, almost 20 years later, people would still be thinking about it and talking about it. And we try to do that with everything that we do. So my goal is to leave parts of me here when I'm gone. And, for my family to be proud of the things I did, for my son to be proud of the contributions I made to the entertainment industry. And as a creative, you just always want to make something beautiful, right? And beautiful doesn't always mean pretty. It can be horrific. And Callisto Protocol is definitely one of those things.